Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the 2022 School of Music Convocation. It is wonderful to see you here, to gather together in this hall tonight. In addition to the students, the faculty, and staff, I want to welcome our live stream audience from throughout the world who are joining us. I also want to give a very, very special welcome to our school's Board of Advisors who are with us, and I'm going to ask our Board of Advisors to stand and let you join me in thanking them. We have special guests that will be introduced later in the program, but now I call on my esteemed colleague and the director of the Institute of Sacred Music, Martin Jean, to lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Loving God, mystery at the heart of the universe, we ask your blessing on those gathered here, some gathered with anticipation of new ventures to come, some bewildered and anxious by a seismic move to a very new and unfamiliar place, others troubled by a wounded world where wars devastate, people are silenced, children go hungry, and where the earth burns. Still more are gathered in grief at the loss of opportunity, the loss of leaders who inspire, the loss of those they've loved for a lifetime. We pray that we find healing in this place, a renewed sense of purpose, skills chiseled and honed for the task at hand. And we pray we find friends here. You are the great singer who intoned the world into being, the artisan who knits together our DNA, the shepherd who put us beside each other for mutual care. You are the cooling wind who renews, chastens, and sustains. Inspire us by your song so that the music we make, the notes we play and chant and compose and conduct, the gestures we dance in this place will make this school, this city, this planet resonate into a place of harmony and love, so that as we see through each other's eyes, we can catch a vision of a world whole again, verdant, abundant, and strongly held in bonds of justice and peace. Amen.
This is a time where we recognize those among us who have led by example, who have helped improve, repair, and heal the world by their actions. The Cultural Leadership Citation recognizes that action on the part of our recipients tonight and in the past. And I want now to invite, first of all, David Lowe to stand and join me at the podium. David Lowe is a graduate of Harvard. But he received his real education with an MBA at Yale. David Lowe is a person that I would call a cultural and human entrepreneur. His efforts as a trustee at the Norfolk Estate have been the most engaging and productive of my long tenure here as dean. His efforts culminated in exciting people about an enterprise that can be for all of the community there in Connecticut and indeed throughout the world. He's done this by pulling that community together and winning the minds of people to join together to improve the facilities for the artists and the musicians who call Norfolk home in the summer. David also serves as president of the board for Philharmonia Baroque in San Francisco. His leadership there and working with them to tour throughout the world, bringing them to the East Coast, creating musical events on Husky Meadows land at his wonderful organic farm in Norfolk, is now a thing of legend and expectation that we all have. David, for your efforts, for your love of music, your care of people, we are proud to present you with the Cultural Leadership Citation. And now I want to call one of our colleagues, Jim Nelson, to the podium. Jim has devoted his life to arts administration. He served as the director of Norfolk, which I think, or the general manager, pardon me, of Norfolk for, 20 years. 3 directors were the beneficiaries of Jim's leadership and his insight, beginning with Joan Panetti, and then Paul Hawkshaw, and currently Melvin Chin. I want to tell you something about Jim's style, and I know it's going to embarrass you, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Jim has done everything in his jobs, from planning and visioning and creating insight, to parking cars in the mud, to emptying trash, to picking up picnic remains that people leave on the ground. But what Jim has done most of all, not only here in New Haven or at the Bushnell in Hartford, or in all of his jobs, what he's done is he has personally involved himself in the community. He has lived in the lives of these people, and we are the better for that, and we thank you. I think there are several achievements that I want to point out during your long tenure there. First of all, I think when we go back long enough, it was really a question at times about whether or not we would survive. And had it not been for Jim's ability to look at things and say, you know, we can do without this, but we need this, we would have been in much more dire straits than we were in those early years. Also, I think leading the centenary celebration in 2006 of the Music Shed, that was a great moment for all of us and for Norfolk, and we owe you much for that. I know that Jim, working with Paul Hawkshaw and Anne Marie Soulier and others, did so much to create interest and funding that allowed us to repair White House, the shed. And now he has led us into this venture with David and Melvin and Anne Marie and Emily Bagmeyer and others to reconstruct the music annex and create more housing. But make no mistake about it, none of this could have happened as fluidly and as easily it has happened without you, and we're grateful. Jim and his wife Adrienne are what I would call almost permanent residents at Norfolk. There is a hands-on involvement, and Jim is trying to look ahead to a retirement that we are not letting him take just yet. He is now actively engaged as an amateur cellist, right? And studying guitar. So we have both of those majors here, and we have scholarships. But he and Adrienne reside in North Haven with two other important members of their family, Cuddy and their cat Bailey. Jim, your work has changed our lives. And those of you in the student body who have been to Norfolk know that Jim has changed lives for those of you who were there particularly. For your cultural leadership at Norfolk and in all the places you have served, I am proud to present you with the Cultural Leadership Citation. I call now to the podium Martin Perlman. Martin Perlman, you came to the Yale School of Music having graduated from Cornell University and having completed a year of Fulbright Fellowship study with the harpsichordist Gustav Leonhardt in Amsterdam. You joined our school as a composition major with Professor Yehudi Weiner, who I believe is in our audience this evening. Here you explored your talents and sharpened your musical and scholarly skills working with Ralph Kirkpatrick and others who guided your studies, earning your Master of Music degree in 1971. Moving on to Boston, you brought your interest in early music to reality, founding an ensemble then known locally as Banchetto Musicale, and now known worldwide as Boston Baroque, North America's first permanent period instrument orchestra. Soon you added an exceptional chorus and went on to present a vast array of Baroque and classical repertoire, including opera and oratorio. You led Boston Baroque in performances in the Northeast, New York, Los Angeles, Puerto Rico, Poland, with 26 commercial recordings. Boston Baroque has been nominated for 6 Grammy Awards and has led in developing digital and internationally live-streamed programming, including the Lukowicz collection in Prague. You are altruistically making your Scholargy music editions available via Boston Baroque's website. You have also appeared as conductor of the Washington Opera, Minnesota Orchestra, San Antonio Symphony, New World Symphony, and others. And throughout, you have remained an active composer of opera and works for piano and string quartet. On the occasion of the 50th anniversary season of Boston Baroque, we present to you the Samuel Simon Sanford Medal, the highest honor the Yale School of Music can confer, in recognition of your leadership and exceptional contributions to period instrument performance and your years of distinguished service to our art. Martin Perlman, the Samuel Simon Sanford Medalist.
Thank you. When I was a student here, I was a composition major, as you heard, but I practically lived in the musical instrument collection up on Hill House Avenue, where I practiced and took lessons and got to know and got to play on the world-class harpsichords in that collection. And around that time, I was becoming very interested in what would happen if you put a lot of Baroque instruments together into an orchestra. And so when I moved to Boston, we had just the very few people I knew who could play reasonably well on the instruments at that time, and we started playing concerts. Now we're in our 50th season, we're streaming, we're doing various concerts, but I personally think of it still as a work in progress, something that is constantly evolving. We'll continue streaming from our TV studio where we do that, but also going back into concert halls. And it's that sense of being a work in progress that keeps it alive and exciting all these years. I think that's what it's all about. Thank you.
Martin.
Our provost, Scott Strobel, could not be with us this evening because he has COVID. So he has sent a statement, and I want to read this along with our good wishes to Scott that he's going to be recovering quickly and fully. He writes to us, "I am sorry not to be with you this evening due to my recent COVID infection. Nevertheless, as University Provost, I officially welcome you to the Yale School of Music. I congratulate you for the talent that has brought you here, and I am eager to experience the talents you will develop through your training at the School of Music. It is wonderful to come together again in the creation of music. Whether your instrument is reed or voice, horn or string, drum or keyboard, may you make a joyful noise this year to celebrate your art, one that heals souls and brings enlightenment to a world that needs its beauty and insight." Thank you, Provost Strobel. And now it's my distinct pleasure to invite our former provost, the William C. Brainerd Professor of Economics, Benjamin Pollock, to the stage, and to the podium rather, to assist me in installing the entering class. Ben Pollock.
Thank you. As you know, all of you know, this is my favorite event of the year. There are 3 reasons it's my favorite event. First, the music school just puts on the best events. Second, I get to see you, Yale's most talented and most inspiring students. And third, I get to stand next to Yale's most talented and inspiring, Yale's best ever dean.
Thank you.
So this is the formal part. The formal installation of this class into the Yale School of Music celebrates the dedication to teaching and learning embodied in each class of entering students. Your matriculation as a School of Music student marks your entry to the university as a graduate student. Tonight, we welcome you and wish you much success as you embark on this adventurous journey of artistic, intellectual, and professional growth.
And now I'm going to ask the entering class to please stand. Please remain standing. You represent 5 continents, 18 countries, 25 states, and 67 institutions. You were selected to matriculate at this school by a distinguished faculty who assessed your talent, your musical and academic accomplishments, and your potential for service to the profession and to society. We will challenge you to develop your innate abilities, assist you in the journey to discover your musical voice, and prepare you to lead in our profession. Welcome to the Yale School of Music. Convocation is an annual ritual that formally announces the opening of the academic year. It is a time when our School of Music community gathers in Sprague Hall to welcome new members, including the entering class, along with the recent faculty and staff appointments. It is a time to recognize our exemplars of excellence. And it is a time to be inspired by musical performances. It is a time for reflection, resolve, and expectation. A new chapter begins tonight for each of us in this hall. How will we write this autobiographical chapter of our lives? Will we see ourselves as others see us, or will we see through our inner lens the person we know and want ourselves to be? What is our artistic, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual wiring? And will this chapter, when completed, chronicle a journey guided by thoughtful choices, or will indiscriminate chance blur the signposts? We need a context for viewing our place in the world at this very moment, and I would suggest 4 areas that will determine the content of the new chapter we write: our global perspective, our past experiences, our concerns and anxieties, and our deeply held values. To help us think realistically about our global condition and our individual place in the world order, consider this sobering view of the world as a village. If the world were reduced to a village of 100 people, with all existing ratios remaining the same, the demographics would look something like this. There would be 50 male, 50 female people, 61 of whom would be Asians, with 20 from China and 17 from India, 14 from the continent of Africa, 11 Europeans, 9 Latin or South Americans, and 5 from North America, none from Australia or Antarctica. 18 would be unable to read or write, and 2 are college graduates. 33 would have cell phones. 16 would be online or on the internet. 27 of these 100 villagers would be under the age of 15, and 7 would be over 64 years old. 30 are unemployed or underemployed, and 53 live on less than $2 a day. 14 are obese, 50 are malnourished. Faith traditions include 33 Christians, 20 Muslims, 13 Hindi, 6 Buddhists, 2 atheists, 12 are non-religious, and 14 from other faiths. 18 cars would be in the village. 63 villagers would have inadequate sanitation. 80 would be living in substandard housing. 5 individuals from the United States control 32% of the world's wealth. These statistics poignantly illustrate the connection between demography and destiny. They also amplify the vast extent of our collective and individual privilege and the distorted view we have of the world when seen only through our personal well-being. In the Gospel of Luke, a parable about human behavior admonishes us that, quote, "To whom much is given, much is required," end quote. Centuries later, the term noblesse oblige was coined with the same dictum. Privilege, wealth, and education obligate us to extend an open hand, not a closed fist. In the few minutes I have been speaking, 22 people have died from starvation, and uncounted thousands have perished in wars and urban violence. That is our present context. And make no mistake about the fact that all of us in this room are privileged. What does this present context hold for each of us? For the discipline of music, for our lives as performing artists and composers, for the advancement of and access to basic education, and for the role and responsibilities of Yale. Human dignity and the sanctity of life ask of us compassion, humility, tolerance, and a willingness to feel the pain of others and ourselves. I believe that our responsibility as artists and composers is to bring hope and to bring healing to our troubled world through our creative effusions and endeavors. Only music can express adequately our human vulnerability. To whom much is given, much is required. Now we turn to that second area that would be part of our chapter, past experiences. We bring these experiences, good and bad, as gifts to this place and time. The chapter we write now is a new adventure, and I hope it will be a momentous time of exciting discovery for you. More importantly, it is a second chance, or a third, or a fourth, or a fifth. Aren't we fortunate to have new beginnings? Before us is a blank page, awaiting words and photos that eclipse the past and equip us for a more meaningful and productive life. The greatest threat to our self-development and a sure guarantor of artistic paralysis, however, is an addiction to the past. We must learn from the past rather than live in it. I urge you not to limit yourselves to what you are especially good at doing, for that would deny all of us the benefits of yet unknown talents. Whether or not we, quote, like, end quote, a subject is hardly the right question. Yale's abundant resources are here to broaden and deepen your past experiences and to help you make sense of things. For some of you, the past has been a narrowly defined road of practicing, attending school, practicing, going to competitions and festivals, practicing, studying, practicing. Does this sound familiar? A framed poster in my office advertises the first ever School of Music tailgate party for the Harvard-Yale game many years ago. The chair of my Dean's Student Advisory Council, not surprisingly from Texas, was the only member who had ever attended an American football game and a tailgate party. We decided to do something about that. The game and tailgate were an amazing and memorable time with some details best omitted from these remarks. You get the point. Take full advantage of the activities and opportunities that abound at Yale, curricular, extracurricular, and I would say especially social. To whom much is given, much is required. The third area in our chapter, anxieties and concerns, is drawn from three resounding themes that emerged in the essays written by the entering class on their diagnostic exams. These themes are awareness of financial challenges, past, present, and future. That's the overwhelming winner of the three themes, the dominant theme, if you will. The second is concern about finding your own distinct voice. And the third, anxieties and fears about how live classical music making can find a place in an increasingly digital world. All you students, and indeed each of us in some fashion, can relate to the concerns and anxieties you feel so acutely. Before briefly commenting on the themes of your essays, I begin by saying to you, and repeating to myself and to others, what I have shared with students and parents throughout my administrative career. You must be true to yourself. Do not let the world tell you who you are. You will find the inner strength and summon the courage to pursue music as a career if you believe that music's grasp on your heart cannot be loosened. But it is a pathway full of daunting challenges and life-changing decisions, and each of us must determine for ourselves the appropriate balance of personal and professional life and the satisfaction we seek from both. The financial concerns you have at this moment and for your future are all affected by unforeseen circumstances such as the financial markets, job opportunities, and geographical location. For example, would you accept a position at a community college in a rural area of the Midwest, or an orchestra position in Nanjing, or an opera studio appointment in Alaska? Do you want a music career enough to sacrifice financial security, also known as benefits, for the sheer joy of making music with like-minded colleagues? Can you work 3 part-time jobs to pay the rent while practicing for a major competition and simultaneously find personal satisfaction in this condition? Important questions like these deserve answers, but many of these answers cannot be discerned immediately. While the matter of School of Music tuition is not an issue, the living stipend remains a big issue for me. It is one of my primary concerns. I assure all of you that my colleagues and I will continue to work tenaciously to procure additional assistance for you and those students who follow you. When financial stress and concern about your future seems almost unbearable, go quickly to the office of the Director of Student Life and tell us. We will do everything in our power to help you. The digital age had dawned before you students were born, and you have been connected to the internet and its innovative manifestations all your lives. This certainly influences the way your distinct classical voice is discovered and developed. Yet you are here because you love classical music that was created and performed over 200 years ago in the intimacy of live audiences. How, you must be asking, can we bridge the gap between the music we love and the habits of mind and media usage that are characteristic of people your age? What about your distinct musical voice and the innate talent can be possibly seen and heard in the expansive digital marketplace of creativity in order to sustain yourselves financially and emotionally? Perhaps Christopher Hitchens, as always, provides a prescient thought, and I quote, "The essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks," end quote. You, as educated artists and cultural leaders, can and will bridge this divide if your mantra is always putting substance before image. To whom much is given, much is required. Finally, we consider our deeply held values as the synthesis of the Yale experience and the fourth content area of the chapter we're writing. Richard Broadhead, former dean of Yale College and president emeritus of Duke University, cites Richard Lattimore's translation of the Odyssey, in which the hero is called resourceful Odysseus. The resourceful person embraces situations as challenges to their ingenuity and is an active contriver of ways to avert the worst and to find opportunities where none are apparent. Robert Fitzgerald's scholarship offers a freer translation and has Homer call Odysseus, quote, "that man skilled in all ways of contending," end quote. It is this ability to contend, to be resourceful, that is so essential in our time and in our lives. All of us learned the skill of contending as a core value in our earliest music lessons. What do you believe with all your heart? What do you believe with all your heart? The core values we cherish are not static, for they develop and mature as we do, as this school does, and as Yale has since 1701. Remember always that unassailable values can withstand the most rigorous examination, and educated artists and scholars invite these inquiries of the mind and heart. Yale is a great university, one of the handful of universities in this country that sets standards, intellectual standards, artistic standards, moral standards, spiritual standards, against which all other American and many international institutions constantly and repeatedly measure themselves. Where are these values described? There is no book that distinguishes the difference between a good performance and a brilliant performance, or a well-crafted composition and a free-form work that speaks eloquently. The faculty of this school, in accepting their appointments, have agreed to exemplify these values. And each professor has a singular responsibility to challenge you, to engage you in the joy of learning, and to infect you with an insatiable curiosity for being a lifelong student. E.E. Cummings said that, quote, "it takes courage to grow up and be who you really are," end quote. Open-mindedness and resourcefulness strengthen all core values. How will we cast ourselves in this chapter we start writing tonight? My wish for you at Yale is a time of fulfillment, enlightenment, and inspiration. As the future artists and cultural leaders of this world, hear John Wesley's words. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can. To whom much is given, much is required. Thank you. We come to the moment in the program where we are inspired by music. And traditionally in Convocation, there are 3 performances. One comes from faculty members. Often they are newly appointed faculty members. Sometimes they are not. Tonight, as your program shows, we're going to hear a performance, a trio from members of the Brentano Quartet. Another comes from an alumna or alumnus of the school, and I'm so pleased that we're going to welcome to this stage again Henry Kramer, a wonderful pianist, Avery Fisher Grant recipient, who will come and perform for us. And then always, we have a current student who represents all of you. And I'm happy that Will Stevens will be playing for us. After the performances are concluded, I'll come again and we will join in singing Avanti Musique. But give us just a moment to make the transition on the stage, and we'll begin with our performances. This should take more than a minute. So I'll invite my colleagues to join me off stage. Thank you. Thank you. In 2003, we rededicated and reopened this historic hall with this wonderful renovation. And one of the program entries that night was the singing of Die Musik. And through almost now 2 decades, this has become kind of a school song. It's our tribute to music and what music means to us, and what music means to the world. So tonight, we're going to hear from our friends of the Bretano Quartet, along with our Deputy Dean, Melvin Chin. If you look at your program, they will play 2 stanzas of this, and then I will stand you and we will sing together in English on Die Musik. Thank you for this very, very, very special evening. I want to invite everyone to join us at the reception in Commons. Before we adjourn, though, there are two things that we need to do. One, we need to thank the extraordinary staff that we have the privilege and pleasure of working with in the School of Music for making all of this happen for us. So please join me in thanking our staff. So I want to thank our program participants tonight. Ben, thank you so much for being here. Our award recipients, Martin Perlman, Jim Nelson, and David Lowe, our board, all of you, and especially welcome our entering class. To lead you to the reception, we have some of your classmates and colleagues. And I think in just a moment, so I'm going to give some instructions, and I hope you can follow them. Hope everyone can follow them. We're going to have 3 members of Yale Percussion Group come down this aisle, and 3 members come down this aisle. They're going to meet in the middle, and they will play for a second. So as they get ready, I don't see the 3 over here, but there are 3 on each side that will be coming down. And then I'm going to stand the entering class, and we're going to start with the first row of the entering class. They're going to lead you out. When everyone is out, then you follow. When everyone in the entering class is out, you follow out. So you guys in the entering class kind of divide up in the middle of the aisle so that you can follow them out. Now, was that clear as a drum beat? Probably not. But we're going to try it and see what happens. So this has become an annual rite that we're really, really happy about. I want to thank the Yale Percussion Group and Professor Van Sice. I want to stand the entering class with applause. You guys are on.